Hello friends and welcome to another support spotlight. Today we're going to talk about Primal Beast, whose main role is actually off lane where I think he excels, but it turns out when a hero is busted, you can play it in other roles pretty effectively. So for support, I think is really good, and even after this hero gets nerfed, I think it'll still be viable. Well, I guess depends what the nerfs are. But position 5 works right now. It's not as good. We'll talk about the issues with that later, but it's doable. So if you're a support player and you want to play Primal Beast, now is the time before it gets nerfed and is not as good. Having said all that, I know the build is not like totally complete. People are still exploring this hero, and who knows what it'll be when it's nerfed. But here is what has been working for me, and hopefully you guys can try this out and have some fun with it too, because I think it's a ton of fun this hero right now. So level 1, this is actually probably one of your harder choices if you're playing 4 support or 5 support, is whether you take Trample or Uproar first. Let's just kind of talk about the pros and cons of both abilities, and then I'll leave it up to you to figure out what's going to work in the game. Trample, level 1, pros, it's insane. The damage is about 400 for a level 1 ability, and that's pretty crazy. It's balanced by the fact that the cooldown and the mana cost, those are upfront. The damage is not guaranteed. So if the enemy stuns you and walks away, or they're faster than you, or they have some kind of escape, you don't actually get much damage for Trample. And it might end up being like a 100 damage ability, and that's not, that's not terribly impressive. It's when you are able to run the full duration around a hero, chase them, whatever, that's when this ability is bonkers. So it's going to be best when the enemy is slower than you, which is probably going to be the case if you're starting boots, but also if they don't have stuns and they don't have escapes. If they have one of those, you might still be able to start Trample, but you need to see them use their abilities before you activate Trample. Otherwise, you're just not going to get very good value out of this ability. Now, some downsides to Trample are that the damage is uncontrollable. It's kind of controllable, but it's just around you. So anything around you is going to take the damage, and in the laning stage, like in the lane itself, that can be not great, because if you try to use this for casual harass, then you're just going to kill all the creeps, you're going to take the last hits. If you're the position 4, it's not such a big deal shoving the lane in, because it just kind of resets right there. But if you are the 5 support and you trample through, like, your carry's not going to be very happy that you just shoved the lane out into a really dangerous spot, and you're like, I gotta go pull now, bye, enjoy this time alone up here. So be a little careful with that. Now, Uproar level 1, if you're taking this, you're going to play kind of like an Ogre Magi who has a little less regen, a little less armor, but you're just like this melee support who has bonus damage, and you win trades when you're right on top of them. Now, your initial trades are probably just going to be like, okay, you're a melee hero, you're going to like walk up, all that stuff. It's as you build these Uproar stacks, which last for about 20 seconds, which is pretty good. When you activate Uproar, that is your time to really crush trades, because either one of two scenarios happen. You will either just trade with someone, they stand there and fight you, and you are hitting with bonus damage and bonus armor, so you're just going to kind of rock that trade and be very happy with that. If they try to run away because they realize, oh, it's not a very good idea to fight into armor and bonus damage, they're slowed, and so that allows you to get 1, 2, 3, maybe auto attacks for free with your bonus damage while they run away, and that's kind of how you recover from before you use Uproar, when you're just like this melee hero having to walk in, right? So careful usage of Uproar in the laning stage is... Actually, you really don't have to be that careful with it because it's free. It's free. There's no cost to it. So as long as you get some stacks, you can just throw it out. If the stacks are going to expire, I would just use it. If you have some time, 20 seconds, I said. So don't use it just chasing someone like, oh, they're far away, let me roar to catch up. That's not very good. You want to be on top of them when you Uproar, and that way you can maximize either scenario we talked about. And the good news is, with this ability, you can use it in the lane. It won't really affect creeps. It will slow them, but that doesn't really matter once the creeps have met. So you just get the bonus damage, bonus armor, and you can just hit people. You can go for denies with all that bonus damage. That's kind of what you do with Uproar if they don't want to fight you and you can't, maybe you're near the tower, you can't chase further in. However, both Trample and Uproar, very nice if you are like more in the jungle when you activate it, because the support has like further to run back to safety to their tower, and so that's when you can get a good Uproar trade as you chase them or just Trample on top of them. So both of these abilities, pretty good. If you're going for first blood, Trample's probably the way to do it, as long as they don't have a stun or escape, but you're probably with teammates, so, you know, as long as one of them stuns first, you get most of the trample damage. It's probably an easy first blood. Uproar doesn't really do anything if no one's hitting you with spells or auto attacks, so it's not very good for first blood. But it's very good for like a lot of little pokes in the laning stage, and especially if you're against like 2 ranged heroes who are going to poke you a lot and it's hard to get on top of them with trample even with boots, then I think Uproar will be a little bit better, because you will build up those Uproar stacks and then you'll just try to cut around them through the trees, and once you get on top of them, you're going to pop Uproar like your 5 stacks, try to get a huge trade in there, and then back off. Level 1, it's a tough choice. But by level 2, you're probably going to take both of them. And so it's like, it's only the first minute or two that is really affected by this. But they combo really well together. So besides their individual pros and cons, Uproar, the bonus damage, will then combine with the trample damage multiplier. So you'll do extra damage during trample, or you'll trample first. You can't get kited in this time, right? Because you don't have to stand in auto attack. You just run next to people. You can't, you're disarmed. So you just run next to them, you're not kited, and they're probably running away, throwing spells at you maybe. Once trample ends, and now you're going to get kited as you auto attack, that's when you could Uproar, because now they're slowed, and now it's harder to be kited as you stand still and auto attack than have to chase. But if you have the choice, I would probably use Uproar in combination with trample, like Uproar into trample rather than trample into Uproar. But, you know, different scenarios, sometimes you just can't, you don't have any stacks. So either order is good. These are a very good like level 1-2 combo, and because Uproar doesn't cost mana, you're a bit more mana efficient on trample. For level 3, either Onslaught or Trample is good. Onslaught, especially if your carry has any kind of stuns, is really good to set up that kill combo. It's an expensive spell though, factoring in Trample, and then keeping in mind that your intelligence gain is awful on Primal Beast, so you probably need some mangoes. But by level 3, you've probably made your first couple purchases. So you can get those mangoes or a magic stick, something like that. And then that'll help you use like this Onslaught Trample combo once or twice to get kills. Onslaught, you get the full stun and damage up front, so you don't have to be like charging. But the good thing about charging is that you can be like pulling or out of the lane and they think they're safe, and then suddenly you like charge through the trees, your carry stuns or your offlaner stuns, whoever, and then you like trample on top. So this is a really good kill combination spell, and if you're having trouble like closing the gap with trample, then you might take this. In fact, you might even take it earlier. Like say against 2 ranged heroes who are keeping their distance a lot, you might do something like this. But I don't love this because I think most of the damage, like who cares if you close the gap, that you have no damage without trample, it feels. So I think something like this by level 4, like whatever order you pick is very good. 2 points in trample, 1 in onslaught, 1 in uproar. From here, you're gonna max trample kind of no matter what order you did. So maybe you did something like this, that's fine. You're gonna grab trample by level 7. The reason being is that the cooldown goes down and the mana cost goes down while the damage goes up. So this is your farming ability. Primal Beast is a pretty greedy support, so you want to steal their farm, going into their jungle, steal their stacks, be very active in fights. Trample is your way to do absurd damage in the early game before anyone has built up those BKBs, those extra health items, those force staffs, glimmer capes, things like that. Trample is going to shine in this early game, so we want it maxed first. At level 6, you'll take Pulverize, of course, take your ultimate. Actually, let's just knock that out, right? It's like a different Fiend's Grip from Bane's ultimate. So it's lower cooldown, so that's really nice. It's lower duration at 2.3 seconds, so it's not going to be as strong as Bane's. It doesn't pierce BKB or anything like that. But you will stand there, you will channel, and you'll like slam a guy into the ground, and that's pretty good for setups, especially since it's low cooldown. So you can just charge in with Onslaught, then Pulverize, it chain stuns, combos. As long as you have like a teammate near you, that's usually a kill right there, and you can do that pretty low cooldown. You suffer from the same weaknesses though, which is that if you get stunned or silenced, you just stop. And for Primal Beast, at least it's a pretty low cooldown, so you can throw it out again, but it still sucks. So when we get to itemization, we're going to be talking about how to fix that. Now from here, you're gonna max Onslaught because the duration doesn't go up that much from 1 to 1.6. It's like, you know, it's decent, I guess. But really, it's this cooldown going down. Instead of using it once or twice a fight, it now becomes 2 to 3 times a fight. And it's not just like one target being stunned, right? You could charge with the whole team, who knows? Plus, it's your escape as you play aggressive, stealing enemy farm. You can charge through terrain, so as they try to gank you, you just like charge, run away through the cliff, something like that, TP out, and you're good to go. And you want that on low cooldown so you can play that kind of aggressive style and not be too worried about, oh, I have to just sit still because it's still on cooldown and I'm too scared without my escape. It also is a nice chunk of damage, so it'll help you clear waves if you need to, but Trample is really good enough for that. Now for your level 10 talent, you're probably going to go Magic Resist. If you need that really early, go ahead and grab it at level 10. But the stun, I think, is a little nicer, especially if they have a lot of like mobile heroes, so you might max it first and then take the talent at 11. After that, you can go ahead and max Uproar. It's just the last ability. I really don't think it needs more levels outside of the laning stage because actually that's kind of it, right? The level 1 is really nice, but after that, you don't really need more base bonus damage because you're not a core constantly right-clicking for last hits. You will use Trample to farm when you can as a support. And the extra stacks, like damage and armor, is nice, but as a support, you're mainly going to be about like Onslaught Pulverize into the Trample damage and not this like extra right-click damage. Now, I know Uproar does combo with the Trample, but again, as a support, damage is secondary. The stuns and the control, the slow, that's like your initial purpose. And the slow doesn't scale at all, so that's why I max Uproar last. Now for your talent, you can go ahead and grab them whenever if you want. For 15, Onslaught damage is pretty common. It becomes a 500 instant nuke, which is really good if you just cancel it right away. Really good at clearing waves if you need to do that. However, some games are all about that physical damage, and so this is 15 extra armor when you have 5 stacks. I think that's really good if that's kind of your main job. Run in, draw all the attention, especially if they are someone who attacks fast but a little lighter, then you build up the stacks really quickly versus like a Sven or a Tiny who do huge amounts of damage in like 1 or 2 hits, then you don't really build up those stacks. So Onslaught's more common, but either I think could be good depending on the game. Oh, for level 10, by the way, I don't usually take the mana regen. Even though he has mana issues, I've been buying a Soul Ring, so I don't have mana issues, so I don't really need this talent. For 20, I don't usually get here as support, to be honest. Most games have been stomps with Primal Beast, and so for 20, I think either can work. Some games have like important things to dispel. However, I think the most important thing to dispel would be a silence, and if you're silenced, you can't uproar. So, it doesn't work for that. So in that case, like Trample's kind of good because, you just get extra damage in. But there are games where there are good things to dispel. Even though you can't dispel the silences, there are other things that are worth dispelling. And so if it's one of those, go ahead and grab the dispel. If there's not good dispels, you just get the damage. Easy. And then 25, Pulverize Duration. We're supports. We're here to provide extra lockdown. Let's just stand there and stun someone for longer. Fantastic. You don't really need the spell lifesteal that much, I think. It's just not what you build for. Items will be much more straightforward. You love to start boots with primal support, especially if you're 4. For 5, it's a bit greedy. This is one of the issues with 5 support, Primal Beast. You probably have to start like salves and sentries for the carry or whatever that I'm supporting. Ew, right? But you kind of have to, and then you don't get to start boots. And then it's a little harder to play Primal Beast, getting that good trample in, or the uproar trades, closing the gap faster so they're not just kiting you all the time. That's why I kind of like 4 a lot better. But if you are 5, you could do a Windlace as like a pseudo boot, and then buy like some, probably not 2 south, sorry. Like mangoes, things like that, normal support stuff, like maybe a sentry, something like that. But if you have the option, you really want to do the boots first, even as a position 5, if you can get away with it, and then just buy a salve and more tangos or something like that afterwards. Now, before even getting in further, let's just talk about the BKB right away, because this is really the first thing you need to think about. If the enemy has a lot of silences and stuns, you will just be useless in the game. Like, the further it goes on, as people get the levels and get the items and all that, you will not do anything because you just won't. Your charged ultimate, always canceled. Your actual charge, the onslaught, canceled as you get stunned, like charging it up, things like that. Trample, you want to use it? Stunned, no damage in. It is so difficult to play Primal Beast if you don't have this BKB, if the enemy has the proper control for you. You become useless. So, if you need to buy BKB, Like, depending how urgent it is, you need to prioritize it, and this will be your first item purchase. If you don't need to get it immediately, you will build some other things that I have on this list, but you will probably still buy a BKB after that. So after your starting items, this should really be the next thing you're thinking about. Like, how quickly do I need this BKB? Now, prior to that, you'll probably get Tranquil Boots no matter what. I think as a support, it works really well. It lets you stay very active. Even if you don't build any of these other items, Tranquil Boots plus a Clarity or two, that allows you to have that high tempo gameplay with your low cooldown ultimate, just like diving towers, and then you heal up with your Clarity and your Tranquil Boots. You go dive another tower top, ult someone there. You know, it just works out really well, I think, and can combo later for the Boots of Bearing. Magic Stick, at least, again, helps with the very low mana pool. And because you are constantly high tempo, all these plays, they will react with spells. You get a lot of charges. So I like the wand as well. But going back to that idea, like if I really need to rush the BKB, probably just like a magic stick. Now, after the Tranquil Boots, I have really been enjoying Soul Ring. This solves your mana issues. You don't have health issues because you're a strength hero with crazy good strength gain and the heal from the Tranquil Boots. And so this will allow you to trample frequently whenever you want to steal enemy farm, go steal their jungle, stack a camp for yourself, farm that. That'll help you get to your BKB faster. I think it's kind of not worth skipping as long as you can get it, because if you just farm worse because you can only like trample once and then you're out of mana, then like you're just not going to get much farm. You're not going to steal much farm from the enemy either to slow them down, and so your BKB timing will be overall worse. So I really like some kind of mana solution. Whether that's Soul Ring or you choose to get like Raindrops plus a good neutral item, you need something to solve your mana issues. And so I like Soul Ring. That's available every game. But if you're lucky, you have like a Coddle on your team, you have like, you know, Crystal Maiden or a Shovel to give you mangoes, then you might be able to skip this. And if it's urgent, rush that BKB. Now, the BKB is not too urgent. Drums are very nice. It combos really well with your hero, gives you more mana, which we said was an issue for you, gives you more move speed for that trample, and you're probably playing with your teammates, so like you charge in, you do everything, you pop the drums, you want them to like win that fight in your ultimate. So give them all that attack speed, give them that bonus move speed to really make use of your plays. After drums, I'd probably get that BKB because it's just going to be good in most games. However, you might need a blink. So Onslaught is like your pseudo blink, you just charge in. However, you know, Lifestealer, Jug, Void, Storm, Puck, you know the heroes. You're not gonna catch them with charge because they're gonna react, and then you're not gonna get to do anything. So in that case, you probably need a blink dagger to blink, ult right away, hopefully before they react. They could still react in time, but you know, less likely. And then that'll be your initiation. This could be your first item over BKB, depends on the game. But yeah. BKB, Blink, these are like two items you'll need to think about every game. And then the drums are nice, but not critical, but like they're good every game, you know? So it's totally fine to skip, but also like as long as you can get them, like it'll feel good to have them. And then, you know, as you get to late game, Boots of Bearing are nice. The Shard is really cool. It's a long range stun. So you just throw it out, low commitment. If you hit, then you can choose to commit everything, chain stun them for a long time. If you miss, no big deal. Just wait for the cooldown. Good to go. I find you don't really need bracers. And then for other support items, if you're position 5, you're more likely to think about it like Force Staff, Glimmer, you know, things like that. But Primal Beast is kind of a hero who wants to play for himself. He is very strong right now. So, you know, just get me the items to do what I do best, which is to just kill people on my own with trample and then to lock down people, low cooldown, stun, and ult. So he kind of builds to do that. That's why he has all these items. He's not really about like, oh, let me enable these people, you know, on my team. Let me play from behind, a very self-sacrificial role. Pick someone else if you want to do that. That's not what Primal Beast is about. He does not play very well from behind. So he doesn't like sacrificing his own game for others. Go play Crystal Maiden, go play like Dazzle, someone like that. They're good at that. Primal Beast isn't. Last tip I want to say about Primal Beast is that if you are going for this Soul Ring, actually even if you're not going Soul Ring but you just have to have this BKB, make sure you prioritize some time for yourself to get it. I've had many games where, actually most games, I start with a really strong start. And then sometimes I get pulled into too many fights where I know I need a BKB, but I'm still fighting. And they just have too many stuns and I'm useless, you know, and I'm just like kind of like doing nothing. I'm not helping myself. They're getting through. And Primal Beast is a very strong early hero. So if you're wasting that peak, it feels really bad. If you're having a strong start and you know you need a BKB, make sure you give yourself time to farm it. Go to the enemy jungle, steal their camps with Trample. As you see them split up, go gank individual heroes, because even if they have a lot of stuns on the team, if you're ganking one person and you stun him, he can't stop you. So do these smaller ganks, steal their farm, slow them down, speed yourself up, get this BKB, and then you can join the big team fights, and that's going to feel a lot better. But if you get pulled in too many fights without this BKB, I don't know, it's bad. Many other supports can still do something like, oh, I use my spell, I get the value out of it, so I'm still adding stuff even though I don't have this BKB. Primal Beast, not that hero. He needs this BKB in certain games where there's a lot of control to be useful. So that's really important. That's why I want to highlight this so much. Identify that in the draft phase, look at it and decide, like, I must have this BKB. Then get your Tranquil Boots, get your Soul Ring, farm this up, split them up. Don't get in those 5-on-5s. Once you have it, then you join those 5-on-5s and you destroy them, and it'll be great. But don't swap that order, because it'll be terrible. I've done it. I've lost. Don't make that mistake. That is it. Thank you for watching. Let me know. I will try to edit in extra clips. I'm assuming I've done it at this point. Obviously not at the time it's recording, but after this, let me know if you like it, because it takes extra time, and I may not do it in future spotlights. But if you guys think it's like critical, it made things so much clearer, then let me know, and I will do my best to keep trying to add them in. That is it. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.